Okay, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be reviewing the Sony XV800, which I have in front of me here. Is a new offering by Sony. It retails at the moment for £600 here in the UK. As we can see, well, maybe the camera isn't picking it up very well, but I can see kind of like through the grille. So you've got two woofers in the middle here, which are both 6.7 inches, so quite big. We've got three tweeters, so we've got two at the top and one down the bottom left here at the front, which are all 2.4 inches. And then we've got two tweeters on the back basically up here, which are 1.6 inches. So effectively 5 tweeters in total, and two woofers at 6.7 inches. So quite a lot of, quite a lot of drivers going on, and obviously they're quite big as well. 6.7 inch woofers are very reasonably sized. This thing weighs 18.5 kilos and is actually necessary because, necessary to point this out because this is a battery powered speaker with wheels and everything, so it can be taken out. So yeah, that 18.5 kilos is obviously going to be something to bear in mind. Not going to be the easiest thing to lug around. It's running Bluetooth version 5.2, which is always the advantage of getting these newer speakers. You're getting that newer version of Bluetooth. It has 20 Hz to 20,000 kilohertz frequency response range, which is actually worse than a lot of speakers I've seen, but obviously the human hearing can only actually hear between exactly those values. So realistically, I'm not sure how much difference it makes, but like the LG speaker I reviewed recently claimed to go up to 40,000, which is obviously quite a lot more. So it's interesting that they spec it to only be 20. So I'm not sure if that will come out in the video or not. I assume not, seeing as we can't actually hear like that anyway. Inputs wise, we've got aux, USB-A, which can be used to charge your phone from and stuff as well, an optical input for like your TV, a mic input, and then another mic input which can also be used for a guitar. So yeah, and then you've got like the necessary dials on the back to tune those in. So yeah, quite a large range of inputs. I noticed the XV900 had an optical as well, so this can be used as a TV sound booster as well, effectively, so almost just like a sub for your TV speakers. So yeah, an interesting mode. I'm not sure who's going to be using that, if I'm being honest, but yeah, interesting options to have. And they do actually give you an optical cable with this speaker as well, so you do actually get that, which is quite nice because they're not something everyone has lying around. The waterproofing levels are actually quite interesting on this. It's IPX4 if the speaker is vertical, as it is at the moment, and IPX2 if it's horizontal. So yeah, they've got different ratings depending on how the speaker is displayed. So if you're in really heavy rain, then stand or upright is basically what that's telling you. And this also claims to have a 25-hour playback time at 50% volume apparently. So yeah, that's quite a claim. There aren't too many speakers that can do that really. So yeah, that will show with time, obviously, as and when people actually play it for 25 hours and count. But yeah, that's quite an impressive inbuilt battery to have. Obviously, we've got kind of like lights on the top and bottom, same as the XV900 did design-wise, like behind the handles, which they do look really good at night as well. On the top, we don't have the same glossy panel that the XV900 has, but still quite a nice, like these are all touch buttons. So, you know, they're backlit as well, and you can see like mega bass, stuff like that. They're all just kind of like a touch surface, and then with a slot, I guess, for like your phone, but my phone doesn't fit in there. So, you know, not necessarily too useful for me. As you can see, these are the two 1.6 inch tweeters up at the back here. So yeah, interesting design. And then down the bottom, we do have wheels, so it can be rolled along using this handle and just rolled along kind of like the 310, the JBL 310. And then down here, we've got our power, aux, USB, optical, mic and guitar inputs, and then some buttons for pairing and the battery.
Battery about 60%.
Which is quite cool. It will also do that when it turns on as well. Well, not by default, but I found a setting for it in the app, which is quite useful. So when it turns on and you connect to it, it will read out its battery percentage, which I find quite good. There you go. You can see at the moment, while it's not focused, actually the two woofers and tweeters there. But yeah, it's an interesting design. I do like the way Sony are doing these new speakers, especially with those kind of touch panel on top. I know it's a small feature realistically, but it just does make it feel that much more premium, if that makes sense. So yeah, I do really like that. Obviously, we're going to move on to the sound test now. Going to be doing everything by Diamond Eyes at 80% volume, and then I'll speak to you afterwards.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Don't stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. You kissed your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. If you walk by the roaring sea, you meant the world to me. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares through. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home is just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own.
Okay, so that was said sound test. Firstly, I think I was slightly disappointed. The one thing I was disappointed with this out of the box was the lights. I found that the XV900s were really, really good at like syncing with the music, which is strange because I'm assuming they have the same software, but I don't know. I just find that this one's a bit all over the place. Like there's a lot of the times where like there's a big build up to like a big part of the song and the lights are just off, and then but then they're like having like, you know, frantic flashing at some other points where it just isn't needed. And I don't know, I feel like somehow this is just a downgrade from the 900 in terms of the lights and the software used to control them. And that is a bit of a shame. It was the one thing that actually kind of let me down. Like the sound is great, but yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of looking at the lights like, what are they? What are they doing? Sound wise, it's obviously really, really good. You don't notice any lapse in the frequency range or anything like that. Not that we thought you would anyway, but it's a really, really nice sounding speaker. Definitely not as bassy as some of its JBL counterparts. That was it at like full volume, obviously, and pretty much anyway, 80%. And yeah, this room isn't shaking. You know, I almost find that the 110 has stronger bass, even though it's half the size. Well, not half the size, but 40%, 60% the size. So yeah, it's definitely not like the bassiest thing on the planet, but it's a really nice and really clear sounding speaker. Sony have always been really good at that. Just the clarity is always really good, especially on these bigger party boxes. So yeah, it is really good. I'll just go through the apps that come with this speaker and then we'll move on to its price. Another thing where I think Sony definitely let down is Sony's Music Center, as they call it, which is just the worst app that's ever been made, pretty much. It's just old, it's laggy, it's like just unappealing. There's very few settings in here at all. So like the illumination is just these options, and while you're clicking on these, they don't change until you press done. So you have to go through them, press done, change, press done the whole way through a song to ever actually see anything. And it's, I don't know, it's just old fashioned and it looks old. And then they've also got this other one, whatever this is called, Feistable or something, which is like got 1.5 stars on the App Store. It's one of the worst rated apps on there. And I can see why, because it's old as anything. Like, you never really know what's actually going on. It just looks like it's been made like in a GCSE IT class. Like, I don't know, it's just like, what is this for? Whoever uses that? And you can't change any of the light modes. I don't know, I just find it like really, really weird and old. And, you know, especially from a company like Sony, you know, they make PlayStations and TVs, like they have the technology and the knowledge to be able to make a very good app. So I've always been a bit confused why it's frankly just so awful, you know, if I'm being honest. So that is something. And then obviously there's the price. It's £600 at the moment. Should we compare that first to the PartyBox 710? I know that obviously isn't battery powered. However, for $650, the 710 costs £50 more, you're getting a lot more sound. And trust me, there's a lot more sound, yeah, a lot more bass and much better lights as well. So yeah, okay, if the battery's a massive deal for you, then shall we talk about the JBL 310? And you know, I don't want to sound like JBL's the only speakers I'm ever going to recommend, but when you're looking at a 310 for 450 and this is 150 more, I mean, I'm sorry, but I can't tell you this is £150 more speaker than a 310 is. That also has a battery, 24 hours of battery life, £150 cheaper. It's got a full-on handle as well and wheels, all of that. Maybe an arguably better light show as well, or maybe just like on par, but to be honest, probably better. And it sounds very, very similar. And yeah, I do really struggle to recommend this at that price point. Obviously, if you're just someone who really likes the sound signature from a Sony speaker, then yeah, of course, like it's obviously not a bad speaker at all. I'm not saying that. It's a really good speaker, but we have to look at it, you know, all of these reviews effectively come down to price. And when you could get something for £150 less in your pocket, well, more in your pocket, less out of your pocket, which is arguably just as good, maybe even better in some ways. You know, it's really hard to justify one of these. So the wheels also don't necessarily feel very rugged. They feel quite, I don't know, there's not much clearance between them and the body, so when you're rolling it over like carpet especially, it just kind of gets stuck. All really small things obviously, but when you add that in with the slightly higher price point, then I think if it was priced at 500, then it's worth £50 more than the 310 maybe, because it has got that you know, the extra basically just drivers. But yeah, at 600, I would find it quite hard to justify that, if I'm honest. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be multiple opinions, people disagreeing, people agreeing. So yeah, let me know what you think. Would you take this over a 310 or 710, and why?